Hey everyone, Nick here, and today I'm going to talk about slope charts. Slope charts are really great data visualizations when you want to show data that move or change from one point in time to 2 points in time. Or if you want to compare two different groups, something like sales versus spend, or income versus expenses, things like that. And it's a really nice way, especially when you have data that changes drastically or multiple series that don't change and one series that does change, because you can really get the highlight of the increase or the decrease. You can see in this chart, this is just sort of the default PowerPoint chart, but you can really see a nice increase here from before and after on a couple of those series, and then a few of them are going down, showing the decrease. And one reason why I like slope charts too is because you can put a lot of information here, but then highlight one specific piece of information that you really want to highlight. So in this case, we're using color to sort of add that contrast and make that one series pop. And so in this case, if this were real or actual data, I would be sort of highlighting that in the title by kind of color coding that red and drawing my reader's attention to the fact that this series was the one that changed and this is the one that we care about. So I'm going to show you how to make this slope chart, and then I'm going to show you a variation on the slope chart that I recently saw on a Tableau public dashboard that I really loved, and I wanted to know if I could recreate that in Excel. So stay tuned, or if you just want to see that variation, go to the end of the video. I'm going to go ahead and put some timestamps in the description below, and you can just jump right to that variation if you already know how to make a slope chart. I'll also put some references into my video notes below on many other data viz professionals who have created step-by-step tutorial blog posts and other videos on how to make slope charts. So I hope you go and check those pros out. All right, I'm going to click over to my PowerPoint slide, and let's get started. All right, here is our PowerPoint slide, and we have just this basic layout with this content placeholder here. Anytime you have a content placeholder, you can fill that with a picture, an image, an icon, a table, anything like that. And all of these options right here on the clickable icons. If you want to put in a chart, just make sure to click on that little chart icon, and you get the insert chart menu here, all the different options for charts. We know that the base of the slope chart is a line chart, so I'm going to go ahead and click on the line, and then we're going to click on line with markers. And you can see it gives us a little preview of what that's going to look like. There's no data here, so this is just going to be the PowerPoint's default data set here. So I'm going to go ahead and click that and click OK. And when you do that, we get this line chart here with 3 different series and 4 categories across that x-axis. So there are a few things I can do immediately to sort of update this chart, because I know we don't need some things. So we don't need the chart title, so I'm going to go ahead, delete that chart title. I'm going to go ahead and delete the legend. And then we don't need 3 series, we only need 2 series. So I'm going to delete from the chart source, I'm going to delete this column D. We're going to say delete there. And then under the series, I'm actually going to update the text there to before and after. Those are going to be our 2 series times. When this base Excel file is open, you also have access to everything on the data menu here on the ribbon. And what we need to do now is click on this button that says switch rows and columns. That's going to switch the axis, and then that's going to give us what our slope chart looks like pretty much. So I'm going to go ahead and click that. And now you can see the slope chart taking a little bit more shape. So now what I can do is I can get rid of the source data. I'm going to go ahead and click on the close icon there. And then what we're going to do is update some things. So I'm going to update our text just a little bit. I'm going to make it bigger and bold. Since this is a slide for presenting, probably 20 points is good. I'm going to go ahead and delete the horizontal grid lines. We don't need those. And now what I need is the sticks, or sort of the baseline of the before and after, the vertical lines that will make up the 2 anchor points for our slope chart. And to do that, I'm going to go ahead and insert the grid lines, the vertical grid lines. So what we need to do is go back up to the Chart Design tab, click on the Add Chart Element button there, go down to Grid Lines, and I'm going to say Primary, Major, Vertical. We're going to go and add those here. All right, that's going to be perfect. Now what you can see is that we have 3 grid lines. We have one here at the base axis, one over here, and then one in the middle. I want them to be swapped so that there's just 2 grid lines and they're aligning with the data markers. So in order to do that, we just click on the x-axis and we're going to format that. So if my format axis menu wasn't open already, I would right click on the axis, click on format axis, and that pops up. And then when you go to the little bar chart chart icon here under the Format Axis menu, go down to Axis Positions, and you can see it says on tick marks or between tick marks. Right now, it's set to between tick marks. I want it to be set to on tick marks, and that's going to work perfectly for our purposes. Now, since it's a slide, this really stretches across the page. We probably need it to be just a little less pronounced, so we're going to go ahead and just make that a little bit smaller there. You can really start to see the slopes. And now what I want to do is I'm going to go ahead and let's see, I want to update the axis. I want to hard code this axis. So what I mean by that is PowerPoint will always update the axis for you as an automatic thing if you update the data in the chart. But you can kind of hard code it and make sure that it always starts at 0 and always ends at 5 if that was the case, just by updating the values in this in the box here on the axis bound, so under minimum and maximum. So what we need to do is type in 0.0, and when we do that and push enter, oh, it doesn't actually look like it changed. I'm going to actually just update it with a little value here, 0.1, and you can see that this reset button appears, and that's what we want to see if we want this axis to be hard-coded and to not change if we update the data. So I'm going to go ahead and just switch it back to 0, and that'll keep that reset button active. So now it's there, and then 5.1, I'm just going to say the reset button appears, and we're going to actually put it back to 5.0. That's just a little trick to make sure that your data doesn't change. Not a huge deal for a chart like this if you're just putting it into a slide, but if you were to do this in a small multiple way and have a bunch of these different charts, we would want the axis to be consistent across all of them. So that's just something that I kind of do as a little check there. We're going to get rid of the x-axis line too, so I'm going to click on that. The Format Axis menu pops up. Under the Paint bucket, we're going to say No Line, and so there's no line there. And then let's actually activate, I'm going to go ahead and delete the y-axis. We don't need that anymore. I want to activate the grid lines because I want those grid lines to be thicker than they are. Right now they're so tiny, and especially for a slide like this, we want them to be pretty thick so that people can see them. So in order to activate them, it's really difficult just by clicking on them, because if I do that, you can see the entire plot area of the chart activates. So what you want to do is go over to, when your chart is activated, go over to the Format Chart area menu, and then click on this little option, this little caret, that's a drop-down menu that says Chart Options. This tells you all of the different elements, the individual elements inside your chart. And when you click on one of these things, it will activate just that element, and you can format it that way. So right here, we're going to say the horizontal, let's see, axis major grid lines. Although I think those, yeah, perfect. That's very nice. Although I think that should be vertical, but for some reason it says horizontal. Anyway. Oh no, it's along the horizontal axis. Okay, I get it. All right, sometimes the terminology in PowerPoint and Excel fool you, and fool me at least. So our grid lines are perfectly activated right now, and so I can update the width and the color. So the color is actually pretty good. I'll just change it to that lighter, maybe I'll do a little bit of a darker gray here, and then I'm gonna update the width. So let's say all the way up maybe to 5 points. I think that looks pretty nice. And from here, we can update the data markers and the lines of the slopes. So in this case, I want all of my downsloping lines to be gray, and I want my upsloping line to be red. So that's the one that I'm going to highlight, and that's the one I've highlighted in my title. So let's go ahead and just update this first. Click on one line, and that updates that activates the entire series. Click on the Paint bucket here, and then you're going to click on the marker icon. Marker dropdown, I'm going to click on built-in, and it's already set to the circle marker, but I want it to be a bigger marker. So let's say 15 points instead of 5 points. That updates that. Under the fill color, we're going to say that gray color. And then the border color, I'm going to say it's going to be white. And then let's go up to the line marker here and update the line color to gray. Perfect. Now I'm going to do that with the next series of data down. Now, when I do this, when I activate that series, a lot of my formatting is going to be consistent from the previous series that I updated. So the built-in, we're going to have to change that each time to 15 points. But then when I click on the fill color, solid fill, it's going to update to the gray that I just used. And then when I click on the solid line, it's going to update. Oh, doesn't look like it updates to white, but I'll update that to white on its own. And then go to the line, and then we're going to say solid line, and then we're going to update that to the gray. This little darker gray actually works a little bit better. Perfect. And then we're going to do that with the final downsloping line. Since our line is open already, let's just activate that to gray. Go over to the marker options, built in 15 points. Perfect. And then let's see, solid fill for the marker, the gray, and then the solid line is going to be white. Perfect. Now my upsloping line, I want to be red. So we're going to go ahead and update the marker size to be consistent, 15 points. Solid fill, we're going to fill it with red. The border outline we're going to make sure is white, and then the line we're going to go up here, solid line, and make that red. Now you have your beautiful slope chart right here. Now if you wanted to add some data labels, we could do that. Let's go ahead and just click on the red series. We're going to right click on that red series and click on Add Data Labels. Now you can see if you select one data label 2 times, it'll isolate that individual data label on its own. So that's what we want for this one. I'm going to go over here to the Format Data Label Options, that bar chart icon. Under Label Options here, I'm going to say click on Left, and that's going to put it to the left. And now what I can do is update the color, and I can update the text as I normally would. Let's update it to 14. Now let's just say I wanted the name of that category here too. All I have to do here is, with that data label activated, the Format Data Label menu is open. I'm going to go ahead and say, let's click on Category Name. And that says before. I don't want that because that's my x-axis here. Let's unclick that. Let's go to Series Name, and that's going to be whatever I typed into my source data for my my data series there. So, and you can see you need to do a little bit of formatting here as well. What I'm going to do is click on the plot area, and we're going to drag this in so that we can see the entire chart. Let's just say I want this to be right aligned, and then what I'm going to do is click on that label. I don't like that comma there, so what I'm going to do is go back to my label options, and then under separator there's a bunch of different options you have: comma, separator, semicolon, period, new line, or space. Let's click on new line, and when I do that, it puts it all on to 2 lines, but then there's no comma, and so I think that looks really nice there. We could do the same thing with this data label here. Let's update that and update the size. I'm going to go ahead and select the series name on that as well. We're going to say new line, and then I want that one to be left aligned, not right aligned, so we're going to do that. And then again, I have to update the plot area just a little bit so that those labels show up nice and perfect. You could do that same thing with all the labels if you wanted to, or if I just wanted to highlight this, that would be fine. Now this says category 2. If I wanted to update the text, we could just right click the chart, edit the data, the source data pops up, and under category 2, we could just say, let's see, let's just call this red line. So anything you update in this cell will now update in the chart below. So you can see that the label's updated nicely and perfectly there. So you can see this is a pretty nice example of a slope chart. Your eye is really immediately drawn to the red line. That's the one that I'm focusing on, and in this case, that's the one that's increasing. There is a little bit of a trick that you might see here too, that this red line is actually below, it's actually behind these other gray lines. It looks like, well, it looks like this top gray line is going over the red line. The bottom, this gray line here on the second to the top is going behind the red line, and this gray line is also going above or on top of that red line. What if I wanted the red line to be the one that's on top? All you need to do there is highlight the chart and then open that select data menu as well. So we're going to go ahead and open the select data source menu. This pops up, and you can see that the order of the chart, or the order in which the series appear, depends on the order in which they live right here in the select data source menu. If you want to change the order, all you need to do is click on the series that you want, and then we're going to go ahead and just move that either down or up. And let's just experiment. When I put the red line down to the bottom, let's go ahead and click OK and see what that does. And actually, it looks like that puts the red line on top of all the other series. So that was perfect. So whichever series in your chart falls on the very last point, that's the one that's going to be highlighted and shown on top of all the others. So we'll close out of that source. If I even wanted to highlight this series even more, maybe I'll increase the line, the weight of the line to just a little bit bigger. Oops, just a little bit bigger, maybe 4 points. All right, I think that looks really nice. A really nice slope chart that draws your eye to that increase on the red line, de-emphasizes the other series on the back, and you could make many versions of this slope chart where you gray out all the other options and then highlight whichever option or whichever series you really want to highlight in the color. So that is a perfect example of a slope chart, and if you keep on watching this video, I'm going to show you a cool variation to this slope chart. So stay tuned. I'm going to flip over to that right now, and we'll see how that goes. All right, so you can see here over on the Tableau public dashboard here, this is by Ryan Soares, and he was visualizing the Premier League Summer 2020 transfer spending. So soccer teams in the UK, what they spent versus what they sold. And I really loved the way he did these slope charts. You can see they're almost like two vertical lollipops. Each one is a different color. The spend is this maroon, purple, and the sales is this sort of blue, and then the actual slope is really, there's not a line for the slope, it's really just this sort of very light gray area. And you really get a good sense of what's increasing and what may decrease, and in this case, most everything is decreasing. So the teams are spending more than they're selling. I think one of the best ones is probably down here under the Wolves here. They're almost spending the same as they're selling. So anyway, I think this was a really cool way to do a slope chart, and I wanted to see if there was a way I could do this in PowerPoint. I thought it would be pretty easy, but it needed there needed to be a few little tweaks here that we needed to make, and I'll show you how to do that over here on our slide. So you can see I've actually already made one as an example. We can see the before slope or the lollipop is in blue, the after is in red, and then there's this gray area in between. So let's go ahead and start making this variation on a slope chart, and we'll see how it goes. So on my content placeholder, just like before, we're going to select that chart icon. Let's go to the line icon, line with markers. We'll select OK. It's just going to give us that default again, so I'm going to go ahead and delete the title. We'll go ahead and delete the legend. I'm going to delete my third column here for the series. We don't need that. And let's just say before. We'll update the text to before and after. Now, what I'm going to do is I'm actually going to just change this category name so that I can see this on the back end, and this will become more clear as we go here. I'm just going to say this is the gray area. Category 2 is going to be my blue lollipop, and category 3 is going to be my red lollipop. All right, and then we actually don't need this row number 5, so I'm going to go ahead and delete that. Right-click and delete, so we don't need that there. You can see it updates in the chart below. Now remember, we need to make this a slope, so we're going to go ahead and switch on the switch row and column. There we go. I'm going to go ahead and update the axis so that we get our or actually, I'm actually going to keep it like this. I'm not going to switch this to on tick marks. We could do that, but when we do the chart updates later on, it's actually going to switch us back to between tick marks. So I'm going to keep us in between tick marks for now. Now what I need to do, we're going to keep the source chart open, and what I want to do is I want to keep this top one. This is going to be my gray area slope, the 4.3 to 2.4. Of course, these are just default dummy data. You're going to update them with whatever your data is over there. The blue lollipop is going to have its own, so I'm actually going to keep this, I'm going to actually make this the exact same value as my gray area. So I'm going to go ahead and say 4.3, and then in the after column, I'm actually going to delete that, and there's just going to be nothing in that column. And so for the red lollipop, I'm going to delete the before column, and in the after column, I'm going to make this the same value as we see in the gray area column here in C2. So I'm just going to go ahead and say 2.4. We're going to push enter. And now you can see in the chart, it looks like we just have one series of data, but we actually have these 3 series of data. We have this before and after for the gray area. We have a blue lollipop and we have a red lollipop. So let's go ahead and close out of this source data for now. I'm going to go ahead and update this. So what we're going to do is click on the one data marker here. Let's make this bigger. I'm going to go ahead and make this a 15 point, and we're going to go ahead and fill it with that blue color that we want, just like my example. And then I'll go ahead and have the border line be a white line. That's going to be nice. I'm going to go ahead and click my after, and let's go ahead and update that. So we'll update the size. Perfect. And then we're going to update the color to that red. All right, now we're not going to do anything with this line because now we're going to change. Oh, it looks like I actually have to update my marker border. Let's see, solid to white. Okay, perfect. Now I'm not going to do anything with the line because that's going to change to our gray area. And what I need to do now is play with the combo chart feature in PowerPoint and sort of the underlying Excel database spreadsheet that this is coming from. So I'm going to highlight the chart. We're going to go up to the chart design tab. And now under here, under type, I'm going to click on this, and our chart type icon menu pops up here. I'm going to go down and click on combo. Now when you do this, it tells you all the different data series that you have in your chart. And so I have my gray area, my blue lollipop, and my red lollipop. And then it's going to allow you to create different chart types and combine them into one. So for the gray area, I'm going to go and make this an area chart. So we're going to go down to the area chart menu, and I'm just going to say this area right here. We're going to click on it. And then for each of the lollipop series, I want those to be the line with marker again. So we're going to go ahead and click on the line section, line with a marker for that, and then line with marker for that. And it gives you a little preview about what it might look like. And that's getting closer to what I want it to look like. So we're going to go ahead and say OK. And now we can see this here. Now the blue, it just defaulted to this blue for the area. So I'm going to click on that, and we're going to update it to this very light gray. So we're going to click on solid fill, and then this really light gray color right here. Let's go ahead and then update the size of the marker. That one stayed the same. This one is supposed to be my red one. That one changed when we did the combo change. So I'm going to go ahead and make that red again and update it to 15 points. Okay, perfect. Now let's go ahead and update our text again here, just so it's bigger. And what I'm going to do, I might have to update this later. So for the axis here on the Y, I want to actually make this, I don't want it to be an auto axis. I want it to stay the same. I want it to stay within 0 and 5. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to delete the minimum and type 0.0. Oops, it looks like it's still on auto. So what you need to do that, we may have done this on the previous version of the slope. I'm just going to go ahead and say 0.0. That's perfect. And then for the 5, I'm going to say 5.1. And then I'm going to actually just change it back to 0. And then the reset buttons pop up right here. That just tells us that now we've hard-coded the axis. It's always going to start at 0, and it's always going to end at 5. So if you get some other value that you need to increase the maximum to, this is just how you'll update that maximum. We're going to go ahead and delete the grid lines there, and I'll go ahead and delete the axis now too. So now we have this great pretty great slope chart here. I'm going to go ahead and update that marker. It looks like there is still a blue border around it. So I'm going to go ahead and say the white line. Now that's nice. Okay, now if we just wanted to do it like this and keep it like this, I think it looks pretty cool. It doesn't give us the vertical lines, the vertical sticks from the data marker to the bottom of the baseline. So how do we do that? One of the ways that I thought we could do this is by selecting one marker, going up to the Chart Design tab, going to the Add Chart Elements. We'll go down to this line option right here. You can say Drop Lines. And when you put on the drop lines here, you can see these faint lines appear. And you can go and edit the, update the width. But you can see that you can't do them individually. So I could change the color of these lines, but it's not going to update for the red or the blue. It's just going to be whatever you select one, it's going to update for the other. So that option is not going to work for me. So I'm going to go ahead and delete those drop lines. So what instead we need to do is work with the individual marker error bars. And because these are unique series, the blue is its own series, the red is its own series, this will work. I can update the error bars individually. So let's go ahead and click on the blue. This time I'm going to click on this little plus sign. You could go back up to the Chart Elements tab and then go to Error Bars, but I'm just showing you kind of a new way here in Excel. Click on the plus sign, and then let's go down to the error bar options here. I'm going to click on percentage. And you can see that in this case, it gives me this little up and down error bars right here. Click on those, and we're going to format them in the menu here. Click on that bar chart icon. I'm going to go ahead and click on minus. I don't want both, I want minus. And then I'm going to say no cap. We don't need a cap on these. And then under percentage, it says 5%. Let's change this to 100%. And that's going to bring it all the way down to that baseline. Now I can edit this line and this line alone, and let's make it the blue color so it matches the marker. And then we're going to update the width of the line to say, let's say 5. Looks pretty good. Awesome. So we can do that exact same process to the red and update them individually. So I'll click on that marker, click on this plus sign, go to the error bars options, and we'll click on percentage. You can't even see it, but it did show up here. The error bars are here. And so the way that you can figure out how to select that one piece, that one little error bar, is by going over to, let's see, highlight this chart, go over to the format chart area and click on chart options, this little drop down menu. If you click on that, it tells you all the different elements that you have in your chart, and you can highlight individual elements of your chart with this drop down menu. So let's go ahead and say the red lollipop error bars. I'm going to highlight those, and now you can see right around here it's highlighted those tiny little error bars. Let's go back and update them. We're going to say just minus, no cap, and then percentage 100%. That takes it down all the way to the baseline. And now we can edit the color. So we're going to say the solid line we're going to be is red. And then let's update that to the same 5 points. Push enter. And now you have this beautiful slope chart that looks just like Ryan's over here on that Tableau Public dashboard. The really cool faint gray line that gives you this sort of slope or area underneath, showing the increases or decreases, and then the individual colors for the individual lollipops. Very, very cool. Now, what we don't have here, and Ryan does have, is you can see the axis labels. The spend and sales are actually color-coded to the lollipops. And since our lollipop is just a single chart right here, the axis is always going to be the same. So you could do, if this was just for a one-time slide, you could do a brute force method. Just insert a text box. And let's do this. Type in before. We're going to make this blue. I'm going to center it. We'll put it up to 20. I'm going to put that over. And then what I'm going to do is I'm going to make the background of the text box a solid fill white. So you could do that. We're going to duplicate this for the after. And then we'll make this red as well. So this is kind of a brute force method that you could use if it was a one-time chart. It's a pretty nice slope chart that we have here and a pretty cool variation on this chart type. So it's really kind of a combination of this area chart, slope chart, slash vertical lollipop chart, which is pretty cool. The blue and the red, and then the sloping line down to the bottom. Now you could see if you wanted to create multiple of these charts, create a small multiple slope chart just like Ryan did, you could just copy this chart a bunch of different times on your slide, make sure everything is aligned and distributed perfectly, and you can edit the chart values for each individual chart that way. It'd be a pretty cool, nice small multiple example of a slope chart. Pretty cool. So I hope you liked this video. If you do, please give it a thumbs up and make sure to hit the subscribe button and tap the bell next to it. If you do that, you'll get notified every time I post a new video tutorial in data design, Excel, or PowerPoint. I had a great time making this video. I hope you had a great time watching it. I will see you next time. And remember, you don't have to be a professional designer to look like one using the software that you already have access to and use every single day. Hope you have a great day, and I'll see you next time.